Welcome back, everyone, to the Suburban Rifleman. We've already made a couple of videos this afternoon. We were shooting SIG P229s. We shot my dad's new Beretta A300. But I also brought out some of my favorite 22s. We're going to do a little bit of rimfire shooting this afternoon. But the first thing I want to try out is this Winchester model 1890. This thing is in rough shape. It's been through the mill. I think this was a proper gallery gun. These are oftentimes referred to as gallery guns. I think this one was actually in a shooting gallery. And I think it was acquired sometime early in the 20th century via the five-finger discount from a shooting gallery. I think some naughty little rapscallions in knickers and newsboy caps probably jimmied the door on the storage shed at the Jersey Shore on the boardwalk at the shooting gallery and stole themselves a couple of rifles, because I know that my uncle didn't steal this, and he had this hanging on the wall in his house for many decades. And the serial number, which should appear on the bottom of the tang here, was ground off a long, long time ago. And the serial number that should appear right here was ground off a long, long time ago. And honestly, I need to do some work to this, and I'll talk about that in a future video. I can't really take the mag tube out, which you need to do to fully disassemble the action, because somebody tried beating it out with a hammer and a drift punch and wanged out the dovetail slot here. There's a trick to turning these out. And then they didn't even silver solder it. I can scratch this with my thumbnail. This is soft lead solder holding this thing in here. So I cleaned this as best I could, and I lubricated it a little bit. This is the 1890s, the original Winchester pumps were not 22 long rifle, 22 long, 22 short compatible. They were cartridge specific. And this one is a 22 short, and I'm shooting old Winchester T22 22 short target rounds that were bought in the 1970s at one of our local department stores, Boscov's. The box of ammo that I'm shooting today has a price tag on it. I think it cost 74 cents or 47 cents. I think it was 47 cents for a box of 22 shorts. So before I invest the time and effort into restoring this thing, it's missing a screw here. Some of the other screws are kind of boogered up a little bit, and it just needs a good cleaning and lubrication. But I want to buy some replacement parts, but I'm not going to do that if the thing's not working properly. So we're just out here to test it. I don't think this rifle's been fired in about 100 years, so, well, that's a good sign. It chambered the first round. Let's see how she does. All right, here we go. It knocked the whole plate rack over. And now it's not feeding for some reason. Let's try this. There we go. Now we got a round chambered. Good news is it does seem to be shooting exactly where I'm aiming. If this thing was kind of spiffed up a little bit, yeah. There we go. Last round. That is definitely it. That's interesting. It works.
Yeah.
And it seems to be shooting all right. You want to give it a try?
Yeah.
All right. I think I've determined that this thing's worth working on. The inner mag tube is messed up. The outer mag tube is messed up. The little locking tab here is missing. The good news is you can buy reproduction outer tubes. You can get reproduction inner tubes. You can get new hangers. I can actually take the action apart and get everything cleaned up and slicked up. I think this is going to work. We got mag problems. I would say it's probably worth working on because it was just, when it was feeding, it was just plinking those plates like nobody's business. So we're going to reload it and hand it off to the old man and let him shoot it a little bit. Well, my dad was just looking at this, so I thought I'd explain it to you all too. The way these things work, you can't operate the bolt when the hammer's back. Obviously, that makes sense. And the way that the bolt releases is actually when you fire and the hammer hits the firing pin. The firing pin itself is the release mechanism for the bolt. So if the rifle is cocked, or even if the rifle's on half cock, you can't work the bolt. The firing pin has to be depressed. I don't know if that would pass muster today as far as safety goes, that you have to lower the hammer. Actually, I just discovered something when I was talking about this. Lowering the hammer on a live cartridge in order to work the bolt seems a little weird. But actually, if the hammer is back and you just push that in with your finger, you can open the bolt. But the big problem with this that I was experiencing is the guts. The magazine is very crimped and messed up. It's got all kinds of bends and dents in it. And the follower wasn't pushing the cartridge all the way through the front of the receiver here, so it was like half into the cartridge lifter and half not, which causes misfeeds. But let's load it back up again and let the old man take a few shots. It'll take him back to his youth in the days of yore on the boardwalk
In Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
You can see here the inner mag tube is all, I don't know what happened to it. It's like all crushed and mashed, and it's not exactly straight, and the outer mag tube is kind of messed up, so I think it's definitely worth fixing. However, all right, we got rounds. It's interesting, you can see the cartridges through this little window here. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Certainly, sir. It's a fun little plinker. It's pretty darn accurate, too. I'm seeing where your bullets are hitting. They're all going into a nice little group on that swinger.
I went to the next one over. I don't think there's a bullet in there.
Oh, we'll find out in a second.
Oh, there was. Failure to eject.
Yeah, that needs some work.
There it goes.
Now, the cool thing about these rifles is they don't have a trigger disconnect. So once we get this thing slicked up and feeding properly, you can hold the trigger down and work the slide, and it's basically like a manually operated machine gun.
I guess that's it.
I guess that was it.
Yep.
I think this is definitely worth getting this squared away. My Uncle George basically had this as a wall hanger. It hung over the back door in my aunt's and his house for, I mean, since I was a little kid. I always remember seeing this Winchester hanging up on the wall, but I don't know that he ever shot it or really ever thought of it as anything other than a wall hanger. And if you think about it, if this thing was a gallery gun on the boardwalk in, Point Pleasant or whatever, and did a couple decades service, it will certainly have had tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, who knows, maybe 1 million rounds through it. And even in its deplorable condition, I did clean what I could get to, and I did put a little bit of oil on some stuff. It's still pretty sticky, but once I do some work to this, luckily there's reproduction hangers, oversized hangers. I think Homestead Gun Parts or something like that sells oversized hangers to repair this, because that's a common thing that people would get those messed up. The mag tubes, everything is available. So I'm going to get this thing cleaned up, slicked up, and feeding better. And we'll do some more interesting shooting videos with this in the future. And when we do that, I hope to see each of you then. Later, guys.